Hey, all you drug companies, forget about anti-aging. We are out to make being a senior so cool, you'll want to start making aging pills so the young bloods can catch up. I'm Bob, and we are having a senior celebration. Hey there, welcome to the first episode of Senior Celebration. I'm 65 years old. I just read also that 65 is the new 55, so yay, we gained 10 years. Woohoo! I'm recording this on December 7th. I was looking at an article about flus, partly because, I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and I've been hearing so much stuff. And this is the worst, the earliest start to the flu season in over 2 decades, and it's crushing our healthcare system right now. It says the highest hospitalization rates are among adults 65 and older. And I think this is really going to be a sign of the times as we move forward, because we are getting older as a society, and certainly the group that we're in is leading the way on that. But another interesting thing I read today was talking about longevity. And let me get my little article up here. So I've been reading this guy on Substack, David Kravitz, Kravit. David, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. The headline is, "Want more proof that longevity is an investment category all by itself? Check out this program." And it talks about a master class and how to invest in the age of longevity. And the blurb that they put out to get people to sign up for this course is, this is what it says. "We are on the verge of a lifespan revolution. In the next 30 years, life expectancy is going to rise to between 110 and 120. The nascent but rapidly growing longevity industry has the capacity to change forever how we live and how and when we die. Crucially, it will also influence how we successfully invest for the future." Interesting. There's a lot going on in the area of aging right now, which is certainly good news for me because I'm doing a show on aging. Now, of course, the show is called Senior Celebration for a reason. It's not all doom and gloom about getting older and illness and longevity. I mean, those are interesting things that are going on. It's certainly things to be aware of. But crucially, the thing I really want to talk about here on an ongoing basis is why we should be celebrating the fact that we're getting older and putting myself and hopefully you in a mindset to walk forward in this journey that we're on with a sense of optimism, even maybe a sense of the best is yet to come. Let's hope for that. So the reason I started this show was, well, number one, I got a business loan. And it allowed me to really focus my attention on what was next for me. And as I was thinking about things I wanted to do, because I knew I wanted to do a podcast. I've done one previously. I did it with a friend of mine. We did it for 5 years. It's called The Menopause Show. It is still out there. We have about 4+ years of content. And, check it out. This time around, I'm doing it solo. Which, wow, if you're watching or if you're listening to this, well, you could be watching it too on YouTube if I am able to do this well. I'm doing a screen recording right now, and you get a chance to see what I look like, and you get a chance to see my walk-in closet recording studio where I'm surrounded by clothes. But the sound is really good in here, so I'm good on that. When I decided to do a show on aging, partly it was because I am aging, and at 65, it seemed like it was certainly attuned to where I was at in my life. But also, as I was doing research, we are approaching a moment in time where our generation is really going to have dramatic impact on a lot of things in society. It's not really being felt that much yet, but we're still, kind of young. We haven't gotten to that point where we are having a massive impact on the healthcare system, although it's not far away. But I don't want to dwell on things like that because, like I said, this is a celebration. We are at a point in our lives where the striving that we have been a part of, that bullet train that we have been on for the last, well, when you think about it, since we were in school. I mean, what was school about but to turn us into productive adults? And we then carried on to work, to raise a family, to be an active part of society. And now we are at that point where we're kind of getting off that bullet train. So it's a time of change for all of us. In the research I'm doing, I'm not seeing hardly anything in mainstream that isn't about, here, I'm just going to pull up real quick. I've got a little on my Apple News, alerts on aging. And so let me just go through some. Severe COVID-19 is associated with molecular blah, blah, blah. At 57, Paulina Poroskova bears it all in topless something. I'm not reading, just reading the bits of the headlines. Vitamin B3 can increase the risk of serious something. Do women age differently from men? Can you cut your risk of heart disease? Alzheimer's, doctor recommended cardio workouts. I mean, all good stuff, but really, is it that much different than the kind of things that was peddled to our parents in terms of a focus on health, a focus on investing, or making sure you have a secure retirement? Those seem to be the stories that get out there that percolate to the top. But I'm here to tell you there's a lot more that's going on. We'll get more into that as the show goes on. Right now, what I want to talk about is why I'm doing this show and why I called it Senior Celebration. So, it is a time of change for us. Work has either slowed down or it's gone altogether. Family, our kids are growing into adults, and that's a different dynamic. Where we are in society, I don't know if you get emails about focus groups that take place where companies are reaching out to consumers in small focus groups and trying to find out how to better market to them. So more and more, I mean, I don't think I've done one of those focus groups in forever. And they were always kind of fun. But at 65 years old, they obviously don't care what I think anymore. And I think that's evident in what we are seeing, certainly in media. But we are a dynamic part of the society. They have no choice but to start listening to us more because, as has always been the case for as long as we've been alive, our generation really has left a strong mark on taking some of my airborne to try and make sure I don't get sick. But what I really want to talk about is us right now, because how we are portrayed in the media and how we are seen in society, those are really important things and obviously have impact. But what really is important and what my focus has always been on is the person. And so I want to talk to you about what it means to be getting older and hopefully to look at it and maybe a little bit fresher perspective and a little more optimistic perspective, because we've got a lot of life left to us and we are only beginning our journey in many ways. The reason I say that is, like I said, work is gone. Family is shifting. We're not on that bullet train anymore. We have time, we have perspective, we have wisdom. We are going through changes. One thing I know about change is that we don't like it very much. Change takes us out of what we know and brings us into a place we don't know. And that's always a scary place to be. And yet, we are going through these changes. We can't turn back the clock. All we can do is move forward and figure out what this life is like that we're living now. And that's a very personal journey. My goal is to help you and myself on that journey because I'm living it as well. Which brings me to this show. I have a lot of ideas about how I like to move forward with this show. But as with aging itself, it's an unknown for me as well. I'm going to get into in a little bit some of the common themes that are going to be incorporated in this show and some of the things to look forward to in the future in terms of the programming we're going to offer. But I want to take a little bit of time to talk about what this process has been like for me, because I'm 65 years old. I'm embarking on something new. I am trying to reshape my career, in a sense, at this stage of life. And that, let me tell you, has been very, very challenging. I can't say that developing a show on aging has aged me, but it certainly has been more top of mind for me. In some ways, I feel like I actually feel more youthful doing this, because I have had to really learn how to work with the technology that's out there now in a way that goes beyond just the occasional post on Facebook. Learning how to edit audio, learning how to build a website, figuring out how to market this, figuring out how to do it in general. I mean, how to get the sound right. All these things that have been so frustrating and so difficult. I've had to put my money where my mouth is with this show and walk the walk, and not just talk about aging and how it's something to be celebrated, but actually be doing it. So I think part of the topics is going to be the show within the show, which is me producing a show like this and what it means. And I'm going to offer some behind the scenes. I'm going to be doing a blog, and I'll give you more information about that as it develops. But I think one of the focuses of the blog, distinct from the podcast, is going to be talking about what it's like making this podcast. And, of course, some of the things that I'm learning along the way. So, as I mentioned, there are some common themes that I think are going to be central to this show. And the first one is celebrating ourselves. The most important thing in our lives is us. And we haven't had a lot of chance to spend with us, living the life that we've lived. But now we have that time. And I think it's really important. And for me, it is the foundation of everything else that I'm going to be talking about on this show. Because if we don't have an acceptance of ourselves, a love of ourselves, a pride in ourselves, it makes everything else moving forward that much more difficult. It certainly will have impact on our body. I'm a big proponent of stress management, and I feel like it's the one thing that we can do as people to really have control over our life, in the sense of our health, in the sense of how we perceive things. Because stress, it clutters the mind. It certainly inflames the body. And that's something we really don't need right now as we're getting older. I'm sure I'm not the only one who really wants to think about, how do I take the best care of myself and enjoy my life as well, so that I can really live it in an active, fun way and celebrate my life the way that I want to. So we're going to be talking a lot about going inside ourselves and really working at loving ourselves more. If you love yourself now and you are all well and good, great. You can probably turn this off, because that's going to be something that I don't think is in real wide supply. We have not lived a life that has encouraged us to be okay with who we are. So that leads to self-care, which is a subset of self-love. But if we care about ourselves more and appreciate ourselves more, then the next step is taking care of ourselves more. This is a real important topic to me, because I have type 2 diabetes, and I've had it for a little over 20 years now. But the last 3 years, it really has been kicking my ass. I developed a series of diabetic ulcers on my feet that got infected. So for about a year, I had 4 infections from those. I also started having difficulty with my eyes. Diabetic retinopathy is a unfortunately common side effect of having diabetes, especially untreated diabetes. And I tried haphazardly over those 20 years to take it seriously, and I have lost over 100 pounds in that time, so I certainly have tried to take better care of myself. But after I started really feeling the impact from my diabetes, and quite frankly, got to a place where I really wondered if I'd ever live a normal, active life again. And that realization did something inside of me that made me really take myself more seriously and love myself enough to take better care of myself and love myself enough to not love food as much and to love activity more and to do the things that make for a healthy lifestyle. So self-care is going to be something we're going to talk a lot about. To live our best lives, to celebrate our senior years, the best way is to be healthy doing it. And that is a primary goal. Another thing that's going to be a theme is celebrating the people in our lives. In all the research I've been doing about getting older and, tips for successful aging and etc., one of the things that comes up time and again is our connection to people and how important that is, especially at this time of our lives. And it goes beyond having people in your life that can be there for you if you need it, if you have something that happens that you need help with. It's about being in the world. It's about connecting with people. Let's face it, our relationships with the people in our lives is changing as well. We mentioned adult children. It's a different dynamic. And the relationship with our partners is changing as we age. If we have aging parents still in our lives, that certainly is a very different role than we've had to play before with our parents. And even in community in general, our position is shifting. Going with the flow of those changes and staying connected and appreciating how those relationships are changing and changing with them is a really important part of our story and our achieving our goal of successful aging and celebrating being a senior. Now, my career was as a writer. I spent 30 years working as a writer. I can't say that I loved most of what I did, but how many of us do in our jobs? But I did write a novel, and it's currently on Amazon. It's called Beyond a Lifetime, and it takes place beyond a lifetime. The book begins in the afterlife. The two protagonists are both dead. It was my way of imagining what might happen after we die, because it's always been an interesting topic to me. I feel like we don't talk enough about death in our society. It is something that is something we share, like the air we breathe. We are all going to die. And as seniors, it becomes much more tangible, which is why I'm bringing it up and why I will continue to bring it up. Not in a morbid way, but if the goal of life is death, so to speak, how do we work towards that goal? I think there's opportunity there. If not to celebrate death, but to at least be thinking about it and talking about it with people, preparing for it, and celebrating our life more as we walk towards it. Because having more of an appreciation for the life that we're living, because we know we're not going to have it forever. So really, at this stage of our lives, everything should be precious to us. We should have a sense of wonder about everything that's going on around us. Now, can we do that as human beings? I know I can't. I know I have my good days and my bad days, but I'm really trying to appreciate more the life that I have. Because I have the time to, because I have lived through so much of my life, and because I have reached this point of change, of a shift, thinking about death and about what's to come is allowing me to appreciate the life that I have more. So that's going to be something that we're going to be talking about. So those are the common themes. And let me tell you a little bit about what's to come. I've done an interview with an old friend of mine. She's a physician and bioethicist and also has cancer. And we talked about that. We actually did a couple of interviews, one talking about her cancer journey and one talking about her life as a physician and bioethicist and how she sees healthcare right now. It's pretty interesting stuff. I'm also planning to talk about age tech. If you're not familiar with that term, look it up. There's, as I was talking about with the longevity article, there's a lot of investment going on right now in longevity, but also in aging, and in particular in the topic of aging in place, which means allowing seniors to be able to live in their own surroundings for as long as possible. And age tech, with the use of sensors and wearables and just a lot more monitoring that can be done in this new technological age we find ourselves in. And it's a pretty fascinating topic, and I'm going to be talking with someone at the start of the year about that, and that'll be something interesting. I also have a good friend of mine who is a pet expert, and he's going to be talking about aging and pets. Are pets aging? What it means to have pets right now as someone who is aging as a senior. So those are some of the things. We're also going to be talking about what I call the boomer juggernaut. A little bit of stats. In 2000, the percentage of seniors in the general population was 12.4%. In 2020, it was 16.9%. It's expected to be 22% in 2050. As we have already talked about, that's going to have tremendous impact on society, and that's going to be something that we're going to be talking about more. And also, there's going to be the musings of a senior, me. I'm living this. I'm trying to live this in an active way, in a proactive way, in a productive way. And I want to share that journey, and I want to share the things that I'm learning along the way. So hopefully you find that of interest, and hopefully it'll be a place where we can share our thoughts together. I really want to make this as interactive a show as possible. In fact, you can go to my website at seniorcelebration.org, and you can leave comments, you can leave a voice message. I really want to hear from you. And as I develop this and learn more about how to do this effectively, I'm going to find ways to make this an immersive experience. But please check out the website, sign up on the mailing list, because I will be sending out newsletters. I'm going to be doing a blog as well as these, and I'll even do some special content just for those who are on the email list. So I hope you'll take advantage of that, because I would love to get to know you. Because, again, this is a personal journey. It is not one size fits all. But that's what makes this so special a time for us in our lives right now, because we are individuals, and we get to embrace that individuality in a way that we never have been able to before in our lives. And I want to take advantage of that, and I hope you'll join me on that journey. So until next time, talk to you later. Bye.